is the Goffstown Capital Improvement Program Committee, which is an advisory committee to the planning board. And as Brad will attest, is the most fun committee to be on in Goffstown, in part because of the people who will be appearing before us tonight, who we can play off for who's going to make the best offer to give us exciting rides or whatever. It's fair warning to those guys in the back.
Did you tell them to start recording?
I think we are recording. We're going to be looking at Parks and Rec, Police Department, Fire Department, and we do have some amendments in the school. Joanne, are we going to be hearing them, or is that just informational?
That's just informational for now.
Okay. As we do, let us start by introducing ourselves. Joanne, you go first.
Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
Brad Parkhurst, community member at large.
Who dressed up for the meeting.
Jack Carbonell, school board rep.
Likewise.
Olivia Welch-Erdahl, Budget Committee.
And I'm Jim Raymond. Have you guys flipped a coin and back to decide who goes first? Okay, you're the winner?
If you don't mind.
I don't mind. Joanne, why don't you tell us, while you're coming up, everybody's gotten the minutes from the last meeting. You've had a chance to read them, whether you did or not. Are there any changes? Have you looked at them?
I looked at them.
I'll
I didn't see
entertain a
any
motion
changes.
by Jack to approve, seconded by Brad.
Make a motion to,
I was not at the last meeting, I have read the minutes.
okay.
Okay, well, I was, so I'll second the motion. You weren't because you're an alternate, but Brad, can you vote in favor of the?
I was
Oh,
there.
God, yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The minutes are accepted. Joanne, what else do we need to look at before we jump into the offer by the police department for rides in their vehicles?
Nothing for the police department, everything is.
Okay, why don't you then take us to the matrix and what we need to look at?
So the first thing would be vehicles under the matrix.
Okay, why don't you, Joanne, for people who haven't paid attention, give a quick summary of what it is that we're reviewing and why under our plan, so people who are listening will understand what we're looking at. Or we're looking at, I think the last printout was dated 5/29/25.
It actually, was it's 5/29, but there have been changes to it, but we haven't printed out
Okay.
a new one yet,
Okay.
but,
Are there any significant changes?
no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, the police department are here for their vehicles. They are under the matrix, at the very top of the page. They're the first department. And you will see that there is the department priorities for these vehicles, the funding source, and then for last year, whether the planning board adopted it, whether the budget committee adopted it, and then the years from 26 to 31.
Okay. As we do, why don't you introduce, go ahead, Joanne,
And just one more thing, there were some changes that the budget committee had made last year, and they reduced the amount of 3 Ford Interceptor SUVs. So, so that reduced the amount that they were able to fund last year.
Okay, so Chief, we'll kind of request you to address that consequence.
Sure.
So we're partial, part of our goal is to educate the select board, the school board, the budget committee, and the voters on capital improvement committee, capital improvement program rather, and its importance. So you'll have, you have the bully pulpit to do that, let's put it that way. You guys are back. So why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll get into it.
Sure, thank you, everyone. Chief Eric Serino, the police department's police chief. So I can address, last year, we came to this committee, we came to budget, we came to the select board asking for a change in our cruiser type and brand. So we are usually, as you guys, most of you know, we run Fords. Throughout the years, as everybody probably knows, here and everywhere else in town, I call the COVID cars. We had serious problems with those cars. We had some cars that were delayed. We've kind of gotten through that, but we were looking at potentially trying to get 2 Chevy Tahoes. Part of the reason why, when I explained last year, was we were looking at just changing the brand to see if it would work better for our officers. As everyone knows, if you don't know, the police cruisers are our officers' offices for 12 hours a day, sometimes 13 hours a day. It's there where they work primarily all day. So we were looking for a different vehicle. We had some understanding from our DPW friends who help us work on our vehicles that sometimes the Chevys are easier, the parts are sourced a little bit easier. So we were looking to try that. So we had in the budget last year, we asked CIP to prioritize 2 Chevy Tahoes and 1 Ford Interceptor, which the cost was a little bit more. When we went to budget season, I believe there was a member who made a motion to basically cut one of the Tahoes out. That would have given us only 2 cars for the year. We've been really successful with keeping our fleet top-notch for the most part with 3 a year. We know that in the past when we've gone down from 3 to 2 to 1 per year, it's caused us to get longer in getting through the cars when we had to kind of rotate them through, which had some problems in the long run that those cars were there for 10, 11 years. We had to keep cars on the line a lot longer. So what we ended up doing, and I believe Derek was the one who offered it up, and I agreed, was instead of cutting the 1 Tahoe and only giving us 2 vehicles, I believe the budget committee basically said for the price of 3 Ford Explorers would be cheaper than having the 2 Tahoes in the 1 car. So the budget committee approved having 3 police Ford Interceptors rather than having the Tahoe. So it was a compromise between our police department and the budget committee. So basically, instead of only getting 2 cars, we were able to get 3 successfully through Ford. There was no significant consequence this year thus far. I will tell you that we ordered these cars when the budget passed in March, and we are now just getting them. So that's July. By the time they then go over and get outfitted, the lights, the siren, the decals, we're looking at maybe end of August, early September, which is better than we've had in the past. We've gotten them in December. So here we are again, in this year, looking for 26. I've trimmed it down to 1 Tahoe and 2 Ford Interceptors. Again, trying to balance the needs, the wants, the priorities of our community, what's going on in our community. I think if we can at least try to get 1 Tahoe in for 26 to really test it, see if it's something that's going to be working for us, and 2 police Interceptors, the cost would be a little bit cheaper, but we could still have the ability to see if the Tahoes will work for us. Some people know the background here is other communities around us are now going to Tahoes. They're a little bit bigger, but they're having good luck with them. We were just trying to see if it's something that would work for us. Once we get to the budget committee and that whole process, we can kind of see where we're at with there. But ultimately, we are trying to see if a different brand would work for our agency. So I don't know how far you want me to go into the reasoning. I think I can. I think most of you have heard my where I'm at as far as why we need them. I can give just for the people out at home that don't know.
Why don't you do that, Eric?
Essentially, we quickly have 10 line police cars that are marked that you see out in the community. Those are the officers in our patrol division that go out and serve the community every day, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Quick, how we do it operating wise is, 5 or 6 officers, when we're fully staffed, are out on one 24-hour shift. There's another half of the fleet is basically sitting idle, not running, and then once they go home and they switch teams, they have their days off, the next team comes in and takes the other 5 or 6 cars. So that way, 1 car is running for 24 hours straight, and then one car is basically sitting idle for 24 hours. That's how we keep our mileage down, some of the engine wear and tear, and they're not always running 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. 5 other cars are typically staff cars. They're assigned to detectives and command staff, myself included. We have 1 pickup truck that's a utility truck, and we have one mobile command post and crime scene vehicle. That is it's on a Ford platform, but it's a big truck. It's a big box truck. Essentially, how our operating is typically what we do is we keep the vehicles on the line operationally for 3 years. After that 3 years, we rotate them to the staff vehicles, which are unmarked, for another 3 years typically. So we run these vehicles for about 6 years straight, sometimes 7 depending on the situation. And then we get them over to DPW, and then sometimes DPW, if they're really bad, will auction them off. Sometimes if they're not, DPW can keep them limping around for a couple of years, sometimes even 3 years after that. So all in, we're purchasing one vehicle that's lasting us, our agency, at least 6, maybe 7 years, and then goes off to DPW, depending on what they need it for and how it works, maybe a year to 3 years. So for a total of maybe 9 to 10 years. That has really been something that has worked for our department and our community for well over 20 years. That rotation of keeping them, and again, to express where we're at, these are the base model Fords, there's nothing fancy on them, but it is our police officer's office for 12-hour shifts. The idea is to try to keep the fleet that's out on patrol as new as we can, so they can have the modern, best technology they can for the budget, so they can respond to the calls and efficiently and fastly.
A question always comes up, and we just talked about it every year, but remind us why mileage is not a marker of.
So Ford, and
Where on the card?
for years, Ford has always had a formula, and essentially what they said was because police cars don't necessarily put on a lot of mileage, but because they operate their engine hours, so they basically say for every 33, or for every engine hour, it's equivalent to 33 miles, right? So what you see is when you start seeing our police cars that are sitting there at the end of their 6 years with 80, 75 to 95,000 miles, the average person says doesn't seem like a lot of miles, but some of these engine hours are somewhere around 2,500 to 3,000 engine miles, or engine hours, excuse me. So when you add that 3,000 engine hours, and the equivalent to Ford standard would be 33 miles, you can see where the mileage would really go up. And again, these cars are not driven the same as the average person who gets in their car, goes to work, goes to the grocery store. They're typically running for 24 hours per cycle, all day, all night. They are driving faster than normal people. They brake a little bit differently. They're harder braking. So you'll see that the engine hours, the wear and tear on the engine itself is a lot more than the average person's. Yes, sir.
How many engine hours are typical for when, like especially for when patrol has them?
So
When they're
what we're
transitioned
seeing,
over.
we're, depending on if, so fully staffed always causes everything to
Yeah.
go up, but when we're kind of fully staffed, we're seeing the average engine hours going out at about 2,000 to 3,000 engine hours per cycle of car. It goes back to, you'll see some that, it's interesting because we track it, but you'll see some cars that, even for maintenance wise, the mileage might be less on a car, but the maintenance expense is higher because that particular car is just having problems. Water pump failures, and we found out that we don't buy an extended warranty for these vehicles. It's something that we're looking into, but typically, I think it's 36 months, or I think it's 30,000 miles or something of that nature, but we're already seeing that, the mileage, before the first, the warranty's up. Even the manufacturer, the 12-month warranty for the manufacturer, it's gone. So we're seeing that within that first year, some of our smaller water pump issues that should be covered under a warranty aren't, because we're already over the mileage. So we've kind of talked to some other, like DPW does it, but we're looking at potentially looking at how much does it cost us to have an extended warranty, or some of that smaller stuff can be covered under it. Because DPW will do the work for free, the labor, but they still have to source the part. So, and then of course, if they can't fix it, we have to bring it to Ford. But typically, that's what we're seeing, is that the hours are usually in that higher 2,000 hour
Okay.
mark.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jack?
So my only question would be, if you're looking to have the Tahoes come up so that you can make a reasonable cost comparison about cheaper, is just having one make that reasonable, or or you're making do because?
Yeah, you know,
Of the climate.
we don't know, and I think that was the question that came up last year, was we're looking for two, do you know if it's really gonna be more cost effective? And I don't know that answer, we haven't, as far as the police department's concerned, we haven't tried it. I think we can, again, this is not necessarily an essential need for our agency, we're wanting to try it. I can tell you that fire has a couple Tahoes, it's been successful for them. DPW, when they work on the vehicles, seem like they're finding it easier to work on. But they also don't necessarily drive their vehicles the same way we do. So that's where I couldn't answer that, Jack,
Right.
I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure.
because that was my real question, was one vehicle sufficient to make a good comparison, or would having two would obviously
The
make it
reason-
better?
Thank you. The reason why we were looking for two was because we were gonna have one on one shift and one on the
One-
other shift.
right.
Just like so we would have two people drive this car for 24 hours, 12-hour day, 12-hour night, and then it sits, and then two people drive this one.
Yeah.
That way, we're not running the one Tahoe 24 hours a day, every shift, every day, because then it's like, well, it's not necessarily
not a
comparing
fit,
the
right.
same.
Okay.
But again, the Tahoes are a little bit more expensive, so if you're trying to get two, your budget's gonna go up, so that was the compromise this
Okay.
year coming in.
Right.
Knowing where we were at with the budget last year, knowing
Yeah.
where the taxpayers are at and what our needs and wants were, so that's why I kinda said, let's try one. Operationally, if we do end up getting one, I think my plan would be to try to only use it for one shift
Yeah.
per couple, cause I think everybody would wanna drive it, but then now you're running it every single day.
Right.
And that's not necessarily a fair comparison.
We don't, as the CIP committee, we don't dictate what equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
it's a concept and an amount.
And the
Yeah.
concept, that's what I was just
Yeah.
asking
Yeah.
about, the concept of
Yeah.
making it be a fair comparison.
I think
so
two
that-
would
to make
be
a
fair.
decision down
Sure.
the road.
I think two would be fair, cause then you could see one sitting, the other one's
One,
not, but,
yep.
yeah.
Understood.
On that note, I also have to point out to people listening that these numbers in our matrix that Eric and the others put in, they're really estimates, they're not hard amounts, because when you come to actually buy them, you're guessing. So they're not the numbers that you would have when you actually go to bid. This is well in advance of that time, so people should treat these as
Benchmark.
benchmark. Yeah, you would call it a WAG, but I might say
Yeah.
something more polite.
Yeah, WAG.
To your point, the state bid doesn't come out till the fall of this year for next year anyways.
Explain that process just for the.
So our purchasing policy in this town typically allows us to, part of the purchasing policy would be to buy a vehicle at state bid pricing. So at least for the vehicles, every dealer can put into the state what they're willing to, price a vehicle at. And like for an example, if McGovern or Auto Fair or McFarland says we can offer this Ford Police Interceptor at $42,300, and they put the bid in, and then the state does their way of doing it, they'll say, okay, we award you the bid, you're gonna price it, and then that price stays locked in. So for us, we typically go for the vehicle that is the state bid. That way, we don't have to deal with the other part of the purchase policy, which is going out and finding other sourcing. Now, one year I had to come to the board because we couldn't find state bid, we couldn't find cruisers, so we had cruisers that were in stock that were about $1,000 more. At that point, I had to come to the board and ask them permission to spend a little bit more because it wasn't state bid. Okay.
I had another question.
Go ahead.
So in the event you got the Tahoe and you guys liked it, do you think that you would continue your CIP plan of having one Tahoe and two Fords, or would you try to shuffle that a little bit? You know what I mean?
Yep. I think that I would, if we decide
Would you
that
expect it to go up?
that would operate and it works for us, I would be asking for another one. I don't know yet 100% the next 5 years and whether or not it would be something we like it so much that we're just gonna continue to buy them out and phase forward out. I don't know that yet. I wouldn't say no, but
Right, no, yeah.
definitely I think as years goes on, if it works, and we are seeing operationally it works for our agency, I would come to this committee and the budget committee and ask for another one.
Okay. Any other questions? We, on the regular police cruiser, you've got some in the far out years of a pickup truck, but it's far enough out that we're gonna treat that as,
I just wanted to make a note for the committee that our matrix sometimes alternates only because we operate so fast every year that sometimes vehicles, it's not worth keeping versus it is because of cost. But just to say, our police truck, we would be looking at some point for the command vehicle, which would be substantially more than a normal police car, and the police pickup truck, we'll be looking to replace that, just a side note.
it's good to know they're coming up. We don't have to focus on them in the near term, and the numbers get even
Yeah.
more guesswork, so. Okay.
Yes.
Board, we're gonna move on from the vehicles then to the other stuff. Joanne, tell us where to look before we embarrass ourselves by floundering about.
Okay, so you want to go to page 13, and it starts on line 93, parking lot expansion.
My page 3.
My page 3 too.
Oh, sorry, mine says 13.
Maybe I'll get the reduced version. Anyway.
Okay, these are the
I've got it, so I know,
Yeah.
I know what we're talking about.
Town capital projects
Yeah,
is
that's
the heading on the
Yep.
major. For the benefit of the people in the audience who are wondering eagerly what we're looking at, the matrix is a colored spreadsheet that puts all the numbers and categories in. In addition, we get a written summary worksheet, not on the vehicles, but on the other stuff that's in our notebook. So there's quite a bit of documentation behind what Eric and the others are presenting. Go ahead, Eric.
So, good news on this, for those of you who don't know, we have a part of our parking lot that's in the back of the building that abuts the community garden that is full of grass. That has been a problem for our police department for years. Essentially, our officers, employees park their personal vehicles on that grassy area. It's becoming a problem. Every year when DPW plows it, it freezes over, becomes an ice rink, and we have problems, and we're about one officer falling out of their vehicle and slipping or hurting injury away from losing somebody for a few months. I have asked, last year, I asked the budget committee to put this in CIP, to put it in. We really need to get this fixed at some point. As we get more employees, the parking lot, more employees are parking. It did not pass last year. Basically, the 150 was really for improvements and paving. I've talked to DPW, I talked to Adam. I officially asked him, is this something that you guys can handle with your in-house people and your tailings of the kind of nip pack stuff they have that they crush? We went through it all, and he said that when they have some time during the spring or the fall when things are starting to kind of switch gears and they kind of slow down, he said it's something that he thinks his crew can take on and they can do for me. So I am actually telling you guys at this point, I'm going to take this out of CIP. I had formulated this prior to having that conversation with him. He told me that it's a minimal cost. They're gonna, I mean, other than personnel and equipment. We can work on that, maybe talk to the board operationally, having some money from our budget, their budget, that we can plan for next year. But essentially, he's gonna grade it, they're gonna flatten it out, take the grass out of there, and then put that huge, they have a huge pile of crushed tailings from like old road work and stuff that he said they'll nip pack it down, and it'll be pretty tight as far as, not pavement, won't be perfect, but it'll be a lot better than grass and ice. So I'm gonna take that out.
Do you want to leave it in until you confirm, or what's your pledge, Joanne?
We could, and I guess for me going to budget committee, that would be a plan, because it is something that we need to get done
Yeah.
for capital improvement. It's just, we've been kind of, last year was the big year I put it in, and we gave it up. It was a lot of money, and I really went to Adam, and I guess maybe myself and my predecessor, I can't really blame anybody else. I've been doing this long enough now. I never asked him officially if that was something they could do, and we had a good conversation. He says, I think there's time in our schedule where things kind of transition from summer to winter, where they can come in and a couple of guys can just use some equipment and flatten it out. And we just really gotta get rid of the grass and be able to plow it where it has the ability to put some salt and sand down, where people aren't slipping on it.
Oh, board, I guess, see what you want. My preference would be for Eric to keep it in, and he can always, because this doesn't bind, this doesn't
Right.
commit, but at least it keeps it in the queue, so that if for some reason DPW cannot do it,
Yep.
we still have it in the queue, because at some point you gotta do something.
Yes,
But that doesn't mean you need to ask for it to be included in the budget.
Correct.
Appropriation, so.
And you would eventually wanna get it paved if you could, so
Sure.
maybe it would be a decreased
Yeah.
Yep.
value.
So, I'd say, let's leave it in for now,
Okay.
knowing it might be
perfect,
just because it doesn't change our overall map that much.
great, thank you.
Had a few more zeros on it, we have a different
Yeah, sure.
analysis.
Well, that's coming.
Yeah, we know. Speaking of zeros, keep going.
Which one do you want to do that? The locker room?
Yeah.
or-
Yeah.
Locker
Yeah.
room? Okay.
Yeah.
So, again, I'll tell you, this one is the one that I keep telling you guys for years, and to the board and the budget committee. I have been in this police department, serving this community for 20 years, and the locker room for the men's room has not changed a bit. I joke, I honestly think that the lockers in there are from the high school back in the 90s, maybe even the 80s.
Those little narrow ones?
Yep,
that-
and we, most of you know, we redid the women's locker room slightly a couple of years ago because our women's staff, the staff of females is growing, it's still growing. So my plan was to try to put something in here to expand both women and men's locker room, taking some space in the old gym that no one's really using as a gym and kind of just increasing the size altogether. I don't have an architect designing it, I don't really know 100% yet where we're at, but we were looking at, when I initially proposed this to this group, I had said, I don't want to invest any money in our building if we're really looking towards building a newer building down the road. Kind of said, at some point, we still have to live here, work here, stay here, we have to kind of upgrade eventually. So I'm keeping it in there, we're looking for 26, 27. The 250 is a cost, obviously it's an estimate of what it would take kind of to clear it out, put some new equipment in there, new lockers. I really would like to really make it bigger and more spacious, especially for our women. We have three women that just had babies that are mothers, that are officers, that are using some of their space in there as mother rooms for lactation. So I really need to kind of improve that area down, and the men's locker room definitely needs a facelift.
Do you want to talk, yeah, and the answer could be no. You have new police headquarters building off in the distance, with a few more zeros. I assume your position is the locker room needs doing in any event, so we shouldn't.
I really, I proposed this, and my predecessors proposed it for years. We took it off the matrix because we just stopped worrying about it. But at some point, my worry as a chief and as a community member is how much money do we continue to sink into our current building when we potentially are going to look at and have a serious conversation with the community about a new building. And I don't want to put a lot of money into our current building if down the road we're going to build a new one. The problem is at some point, the new building, we have no idea how long, how far, where it's going to be. And we still have to operate in our current building. So yes, at some point we have to build this new locker room, or at least add new lockers and upgrade it. If we keep, I can tell you just from having a conversation with an architect and another person the other day, and our bathrooms are not ADA compliant at all in the locker rooms. So it's one of those things now where we really have to start looking at, we all just deal with it, and we just go to work and deal with it, but it's starting to become a problem when we have employees who are having children, who need spaces that are private, that are not ADA compliant. So excuse me.
So the answer is you need this
Yep.
irrespective of.
Yes,
yeah.
so even if it's the next 5 years and the town says, yes, we'll pay for a new building, 100%, it's breaking ground today, I'd probably say, don't worry about it, we can deal with it, but we just don't know where we're gonna be.
Okay.
So we need to really work on funding this, putting some money there, whether we use impact fees or there's tax appropriation. I don't know there's any grants for that. There is some money sourced through our asset forfeiture that I could use. That's something I would discuss with the board. But essentially, we do need to do this.
Is the 250 an estimate that you made? If you haven't talked to architect yet, is that just kind of a
Yep.
ballpark figure?
Ballpark figure,
Okay.
placeholder. I think at some point when we are feeling like this is gonna come to fruition, we would have a better quote
Yeah.
from some people who know how to do this. And we've had problems, I don't wanna take up too much more time. We've had problems where people think the job is too small, so they won't even bid on it.
Okay.
And that's what we had with the women's locker room. Like, we had nobody to wanna touch it. We had to find somebody that, through a friend of a friend of a friend that could do it, do a decent job, but nobody bid on it.
You should try to get a carpenter to come to your house. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Jeff, sorry. Mark, introduce
was
yourself,
coming.
please. You gave me the.
Mark Lemay, Selectmen's Rep. I apologize for being late.
That's all right. Go ahead, Eric.
So really, I can tell you that what we have written in here, and I feel bad because I really focused on the men's locker room. I did add some parts of the women's locker room, but I can't overstate that this locker room project is not just for the men, it's for all women and men in our building. Sometimes I feel like the priority is more of the women because, at this point, they're moms, they're working moms, they have different needs essentially right now. So
You also had some catching up to do on the women's before.
Yeah.
We're focusing on next year, but talk about the record management software, because it's the year out.
Yes,
That's a pretty big
so,
number.
well, our records management software is basically where we keep all of our entire data for everything for police records. So anything from arrest reports to offense reports, everything goes in this database. The database itself is probably from 1997. I'm not even kidding you when I say that the graphic interface is from 97.
Is it in DOS?
Not DOS, pretty close though. We had it installed in 2013. We've had it since 2013. We are getting to a point where the end of life, although the company says they'll still service it, I think we all know that software does not get serviced for many, many years. We are looking to move to a different system. The quote I have here was an actual quote from a vendor. That is what we're looking at. I can tell you that I have been working significantly with our Hillsborough County chiefs. We as a county have been working with a vendor that has can do a records management system that seems to be working at some departments around our county. And we're trying to figure out if we can go into this as a group, as a county, and get on a basically consortium of people where they can offer us a better pricing deal and house data at one place, which would make our cost substantially lower. A good point to that is also one of my colleagues in the county is applying for a grant that would help cover the cost of this for the first 2 years. So the number I have here is an actual quote we've had looking to do this, but I can tell you that this year alone, we are working towards, as a county, putting a grant together, and at some point, if it works out, I would like to come to the board and see if we can put this together for the budget next year and get it done, and to take it right out of CIP. I don't want to say what the price is. I can tell you right now that if this all worked out for our agency, we would be sub $100,000 a year fully installed. Which is huge compared to what you're seeing here. If it doesn't get approved in this grant through the federal funding, we're still looking as a county to try to stay on board with this vendor and really see if we can get a good deal with all of us. It seems like this vendor is really looking forward to working with our county. We are the largest county in the state. A lot of agencies have this software. So it is something that I need to get done. It is a priority. I have it as a priority too. We are kind of limping along, and IT has told me that they can limp it along maybe a year or two, but with cyber attacks and everything else, I need to get this done within the next year or two.
Okay.
So the good news is we can get this done. We can get it done on a grant, or we can talk to the board about a substantial cheaper price.
Okay. Although we're not gonna focus on it, I just wanna look at the big kahuna.
Okay.
The new police headquarters. Talk for a couple of minutes about what you're,
Really
Yeah.
quickly, just our building is built in '87, built with 19 employees. We're sitting at just about 32 full-time sworn police officers, 14 civilian staff. We're still growing. Essentially, the board has approved us to use impact fees to put together a facility needs assessment. We are engaged with an architect and a firm right now doing that. I've had 2 meetings with them. Just on Tuesday, they came out with their group of HVAC, electrical, ADA people, like a whole group of people who are professionals, came out, did a whole tour of the building, looked at it. I will tell you that they were not impressed. Well, they were impressed that the building is as good as it is for as long as it is with minimal maintenance. But I think for us, what the community needs to know is that our building is, over 30, almost 40 years old, more than that actually. And it is undersized for us, and we're now starting to learn that it is not compliant with a lot of codes, a lot of ADA. And unfortunately, I was told the other day, I didn't know this, there's a whole code for emergency responders when it comes to seismic, electrical, and HVAC for emergency operations centers, and at this point, our police department is not in compliance with that. So just for the community's sake, we really need to look at, as a community, getting a building that is sustainable for the next 20 to 30 years.
and partially for the benefit of the gentleman sitting behind you, you're talking about solely a police station, not a combined.
At this point, we are talking specifically about a new police station,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Board, do you have any questions?
Hey,
Fred.
Eric, you're like an EOC for more than this department.
So,
Tell us what that
for
means.
dispatching,
Emergency Operations Center.
yep, so, are you talking for dispatch too?
Mhm.
Are you talking for our dispatch center?
I'm talking, yeah.
Yep. So we are the backup emergency operations center to the fire department. We used to be the EOC until the fire department got their big addition. But if the fire department has an issue, we can use our police department as an EOC, emergency operations center. But I think to your point, one of the bigger points here is that our dispatch center that's in our building is a regional dispatch center that dispatches for Goffstown Police, Fire, EMS, New Boston Police, Fire, EMS, Ware Police, Dumbarton Police, and St. A Security. It is a part of our building that is potentially, it is generating revenue, and it potentially could get bigger, but we can't house any more people. So yes, that is a factor in building a new building, is we need to build a bigger area for communications, for dispatch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Most important question,
Yes.
get the gentleman in the back gonna make a bid to us. What's your offer this
We
year?
have a new e-bike that is pretty nice. We could try and raise you on the pegs on that. Anytime you guys want to come out and do a ride along in our police cars, I'd be more than happy to bring you out. What else do we have? I think you guys could try our drone. We have our drone unit. They're super excited to show people what they can do with that. You can't ride on it, but certainly you can check out what its capabilities are.
Playing with it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't have a cool fire truck with a big
I
tower.
know, yeah, but we're getting too old to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll take that into consideration then.
Great.
Anything else on, please, Eric?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much.
Well presented.
Thank you very much.
You've done this before.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, you've seen the warm-up. You wanna come? Oh, you're gonna offer us some basketball dribbles, so.
No, but you have an invite to go to a barbecue next Wednesday.
Okay.
Brad. Don't advertise, we're full.
Well, when I tell you,
Okay,
I saw you yesterday, we had 9 openings.
Joanne, tell us what we're gonna be looking at, where we had to look.
Okay, so we would be looking at,
I assume it's page 4, Parks and Recreation. Are there any vehicles involved? Okay.
so under page, I guess it's page 4,
Yeah,
line 148.
is everybody there? Okay, as you do every year, introduce yourself, and Thank you, Eric. And give us a walkthrough. We're gonna focus on, first on next year's projects, but you've got some big boys out a few years, well, as they've been there, the repeat customers, let's say, but we still want you to bring us up to date on your planning on those two.
I was listening to how you were describing to Eric, Rick Wilhelmi, Goffstown Parks and Recreation Director. And I'd like to start just by giving an overview of what Parks and Recreation facilities are, okay, for the greater community of Goffstown, 18,000 people to enjoy. You have two parks. You have, each of these parks were well established back in that way, early 80s, okay, and little things have been fixed here and there. So each park, Roy now has a beautiful playground, rebuilt playground, basketball court, a recreational field, rectangular field, multi-purpose, softball field, and a pavilion. Then you go over to Barnard Park. Barnard Park has tennis courts, it has a track, it has the pool, has a pavilion, has its own playground, a smaller playground. You go to the recreation building. The recreation building, that was a hand-me-down from some group of people, and it was back in the 70s. And then you put a little 30 by 30 room on the front of it in the mid-80s, late 80s. And then you look at Glen Lake Waterfront. Glen Lake Waterfront was reestablished back in 2006 or something like that, maybe, or earlier. You look at the Town Common. Town Common, there was a big group of people that renovated that, came together, and that was, again, back in 2000s. Then you look at your athletic fields, okay? So we have the Barnard football field, we have the Surratt complex, and we have the town sports complex. So you have all these different facilities. Many of these facilities, I think, as we can hear the common denominator, what is that common denominator? They're old. They are old, okay? And our CIP process is that avenue to kind of look at these facilities and try and pin out some areas that need some love and some help. Why I'm saying that is in the recreation department, there's a lot of needs, all right? I mean, we can debate whether we need a pool or not, but you need a new pool eventually. We can keep it running. I guess the theory is you let it run until it actually dies. And I don't have that crystal ball to tell you when it's gonna die, all right? But, so you look at future and how you build and prepare for fixing things. Our track, we have a nice collaboration with the school. Probably about 12 years ago, we redid the track. The track has a lifespan, 15 years. So we're almost near that one. Most of these facilities have lifespans, and that's the reality. So I just wanted to set the stage that we have all these facilities for our community to be involved with.
Rick, separate, just for structurally, new facilities required by growth and replacement of the worn-out ones. Are you
Good
focused on?
question. So we did a study, a field usage study. We did this, oh my gosh. That was probably, I bet you, 8 years ago, at least, when Peter Hooker.
Yes.
Peter Hooker
Yep.
was on the commission. And he designed that, did a nice little study of all that. So we took all the groups. You took your Tri-Town recreational soccer, United travel soccer, Junior Grizzlies football, junior baseball, Goffstown junior baseball, Babe Ruth softball. Did I miss anybody?
Oh, I'm sure you.
And then all the
lacrosse team,
schools.
there's a lacrosse
And then-
team in there
And
somewhere.
then all the school athletic needs.
And
So-
your programs.
And then the lacrosse programs. We did this study, and there's no, I mean, fields were getting beat up and destroyed. So that study showed us the need for the sports complex, which we did phase one of this, and we put in the 2 rectangular fields.
When you talk about the sports complex, that's out by the Public Works facility.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not the dome, it's the one behind,
Yeah.
it's grass fields,
Yeah.
it's grass fields. So, yes, so when you say new develop, that was evidently from, you can see results that this community is growing. And the number of people that are getting involved in these social activities with their kids, you need a place. So that's what we ended up doing over there.
Okay, well, when you go through this, I just want to have a distinction a little bit. They blend together, but.
The other thing I'd like to throw out there, just to throw out there, why I'm on that, is indoor space. Jack can attest to this from the school point of view. Come wintertime, you need more space for indoor, like basketball, cheerleading, volleyball, I mean, the number of things that go on, and you have the middle school gymnasium, the high school gymnasium, that is it. That is it. And you have, I mean, we got 525 people involved in our programs. The school's got how many different activities going. You got some travel programs going. So that's another need that's out there that none of us talk about. None of us talk about. So just throwing that one out there too.
Okay, with that introduction, which is excellent, you wanna dive into things now?
Yes, so for 2026, the biggest thing that we have is by removing the Roy Park pool, we need to give it a new life. And that's basically being a good steward based on the CWF monies, the Conservation Water Fund. When you get those grants, you basically own that for a lifetime. And so we have to look at replacing the purpose of the pool. And the commissioners have kind of looked at, listened to, I mean, you got it in the, in our town-wide, what do you call it?
Master plan?
Master plan, thanks for that. The town-wide master plan. So what we've done is we're looking at putting in four pickleball courts on top of that where the pool was, and then also to add a dog park. The dog park has been something that this community has been starving for. We've heard it. So as far as the pickleball courts go, we're making sure, letting all that area dry out. Probably have to put in some under drainage over there. Try to get a full year of what's the ground like over there. So, but anyhow, the concept will be to put in a pickleball court over there. Do you want numbers, or does that really matter, or?
No, well, we've got it in our matrix, but you could just give us a quick summary.
I mean, a rough estimate, and this was back from April of 2025 for asphalt tennis courts, it's about $190,000. If you put in, I've been doing some research since the whole tennis court thing, and more what the town of Timberlane just put in 6 brand new tennis courts. And New Englanders are tending to go to something called post-intention, which is a concrete base court. And all the posts are tied in underneath the concrete, very expensive, but anyhow. So you can still go with asphalt, you can go with this new method. The concrete is basically probably like a 30-plus year kind of warranty on it. But so I'm just kind of learning some different things. So this would be an asphalt court system. All the monies for this it's not affecting the taxpayer whatsoever. It's gonna be revolving fund money and impact fee money. We can use impact fee money because this is a new not a rebuild.
Well,
This
that's
is
why-
something new, and pickleball is growing and a demand.
That's why, one of the reasons I asked you about separating
Yeah.
replacement versus
Right.
meeting growth, and
So, and then the dog park is about $70,000, 68, something like that, $1,000.
So-
And so the revolving fund monies would go towards these two projects. And I wanna say, I just got updated impact fee monies, and it looks like we probably have 75-ish thousand that we can utilize for these two projects.
and you have a revolving fund? for
Correct.
the balance? Okay. Okay.
And the revolving fund was, we were supposed to fund, if you remember, got shot down, the pool engineering project, the tennis courts got shot down, so those monies right there are gonna go directly to these.
Do you know how much is in the revolving fund?
Right now, about 350,000, might be a little more than that. Don't,
Just
yeah,
roundabout.
don't quote me.
Okay, keep going, Rick.
So that's 26. I didn't really, last year we were just worried about current time, but I can just kind of give you like a big picture.
Yeah, do that.
So 27, we had in there for the rehab of Glen Lake, and that's basically the waterfront area. That is basically a placeholder of $50,000. I guarantee you that's probably close to around $250,000.
And just to clear that up, that's the boat launch.
That's the
Area.
boat launch area. Yeah, it's, I don't know if you've looked at that place, but it's a mess. It's totally washed out.
I'd be looking at it right now, but I'm here listening to you instead.
From the shore, actually, from the
Water
water
looks
point of
better.
view, from the water point of view, you get a really good look of how bad.
Is that from use or from?
It's from washout.
Yeah.
It's just from rain, from,
Okay.
Yeah, but it's gotta be also used, it gets a huge amount of use,
Yeah,
especially on weekends.
I think the problems are age, washout, Mother Nature.
Yeah, I mean, we go there a lot,
That's
and
the
over the
issue.
past couple of years with the increased storms, it's been a lot.
Okay.
I mean, we used to have where the porta potty is, looking at the lake porta potty. That little area that goes on, that was the handicapped area. There's no way in heck you're going down there, because you gotta tier it, because the water has eroded it so bad.
And they're tall stairs now.
And you gotta create this tier system so the water. Anyhow,
Okay.
that's gonna be a big project.
Okay, go-
2028.
Yeah, go to the exciting ones.
This one here, I don't know what to tell you. The whole sports complex right now, well, as we know, the commissioners, we always said there was 3 phases.
Well, you know, the commissioners, you're referring to the,
Parks and Rec Commission. And we always said that there was 3 phases to that, and basically it was all rectangular fields. And at one point in time, we did talk about having baseball, a 90-foot diamond, softball fields, and all this stuff. This goes back to 2012, and I can remember all the conversations that we had with those people that I said to you, you know, the travel soccer, the rec soccer, the Babe Ruth softball, the Goffstown High School baseball, all that. Nobody was interested in those softball or baseball at that time. So it was basically, okay, make it all rectangular fields, because in truthfulness, those rectangular fields they're needed. I mean, that's the piece that's growing, okay? Then come what, last year, our turf field. Turf field comes in, right? So hopefully that takes the burden off of some of these rectangular grass fields, okay? It's helping, but not a lot of people seem to be wanting to go and use that field. And maybe like a soccer group, I understand why, is because they have multiple games in a day. So by that, they may have an 11v11 game, they may have a 9v9 game, which are different fields. On a grass field, you can paint anything you want. You certainly can't do that on a turf field. So management-wise, it becomes a little more challenging for that said group of people. You know, I mean, they want to group their program together for their officials and make things efficient and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. So, sorry, I can go off on a tangent. So,
What's
With that being said, then we moved on and we said, okay, rectangular fields. And then when Eric was saying there's nowhere in town to put a police department. I mean, they looked, nowhere to put it. So the commissioner said, why don't we put a police department right in this back corner over here and allow them to do that? Great idea, okay? And that would also include a rectangular field over there. So right now, those fields, the remaining 2 phases, to me, are up in the air. There's a lot of moving parts here.
Okay.
As Jack can attest, I think the school is in a bind right now with a need for a baseball field. Personally, I think the baseball field should be on their own property for future years down the road, then there's no headaches about it, but anyhow.
Okay.
So that's all up in the air. So when you start to ask me about questions about all that stuff, there's a lot of moving parts.
Well, the question for you then, this is 2 years out.
Yeah.
Is it likely to be, is your plan likely to solidify in 2 years?
I don't have a good answer.
Okay, that's fair. So we'll keep it as a placeholder,
Yep.
knowing,
I can tell you right now, the 2 rectangular fields that we put in place that are currently there right this minute were $850,000. That was 5 years ago. So that 850 is probably 1.2.
yeah, feels expensive. Okay, so
And
we'll,
it's not just, people need to understand, it's not just, oh yeah, make a rectangular, put some grass down loam and all that. No, you have to bring in the water lines, you have to bring in irrigation lines, you have to create detention ponds. There's more work to it. It's not just, hey, let's put a diamond down there.
okay, well, let's leave that. Talk for a minute about the pool replacement. You've talked about this for multiple years.
Yeah.
And it's a big number, and you put it out for a couple more years. Is that,
Kick the can down the road, to be totally honest with you, Jim.
okay, no, I get it.
I don't know what else to tell you. I mean,
You phrased it in prior years as you don't know when it's gonna, and earlier tonight, when it might stop
it was
functioning.
suggested to us to keep it in the matrix, so thus we did.
Okay,
Then the only other thing, to redo the Barnard tennis courts, we are gonna come back in 2029. That might happen in 2028. So right now, currently, what we are doing is lipstick on a pig, and we're putting something called right-way crack repair, which is a known way to fix cracks on asphalt tennis courts. Seems to give you a little more life. It's no guarantee, they don't really guarantee it, but you can
Is that
make
what you've used before? Because you guys have patched the cracks before, right?
this building.
Just
This is
fill
a
them, okay.
different, this is now you're putting you fill them,
Yeah,
and then they take like a membrane, just like a mesh membrane, and they're gonna glue it, adhere it over the top of it, so it allows it to expand, move, that type of thing. Supposedly gives you a little more life out of it.
go back to the pool. Since it failed last time, you're just lying low for a while and then figuring to bring it back, but the need hasn't changed.
We got 350 people using that pool.
Okay, just want to be clear.
350 people, come on over, watch them having fun.
You're not reducing, how do I say this? De-emphasizing the need, you're just injecting some political reality into your scheduling. Is that a fair
I
assessment?
think that's a very fair statement with everything we're doing.
Okay.
We in all honesty, every one of us, we are in a political, what do?
Mhm.
You can't deny these facilities are all old, and they all need help. But you also can't deny that they cost money, and we gotta figure it all out. I think what we do here is, don't look at that money thing. This is what is needed, this is a used thing, it needs it.
Well, that's why,
Everybody else can figure out how you make all that.
Rick,
You know what I
stop
mean?
talking about it. That's why I asked. Our job is not to be a budget committee. Our job is to identify capital needs.
Correct.
So with that mission, is it appropriate to be pushing this out, or should we keep it in a sooner year because it is a need? And then let the other boards and budget committee and voters decide whether or not they want it.
And has the need increased with the closing of Roy Park School? Have you
Well,
guys seen an increase of people at the
I'm
pool?
seeing more people right now, and part of the problem too is it's also, 1,000 degrees out there, okay? I mean, you know, so it's,
So Rick, I'm so challenging you to, you know, if you think this is a need, don't be a,
I understand what you're saying. I
we're,
appreciate
we're-
that.
we're not a political board, we're a
I
capital.
understand. I would keep it where it is.
Okay, okay. I give you the opportunity to move it
Thank
up and
you.
you're declining.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Committee, you understand our role is not to do what you do.
Oh, I know, that I was, well, that's why I wanted to
Yeah,
discuss whether the need has increased
yeah.
with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's increased.
Yeah.
We have a different function, so, Mark.
Question, the 350 number that you just mentioned, are those people from just the village area, or are they coming from Bernardville?
I could not tell you, Mark.
Okay.
I have no, human beings come walking through that gate.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll issue different colored bathing suits.
I'm sorry.
No, I understand.
And I get that question all the time. How do you know? I don't know. We don't.
I know Manchester uses a system with driver's licenses, but that's a bad system in itself, because the people in Bernardville have the 03102 zip code,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
there it is.
Thank you.
Okay, Rick, anything else? Brad, do you have a question?
It's a beautiful thing in
Well,
Goffstown.
basically, what he's saying is when they come into the pool, we don't know if they're from New Boston,
Yeah.
Boston,
Yeah, okay.
Dunbarton.
Dunbarton, wherever.
Yeah,
They come to swim.
yeah, okay. Rick, anything else? You did a pretty good presentation. You're getting better every year.
I think that's really it. I mean, the only other grand scheme way out there, pie in the sky, big pie in the sky, on that sports complex is to build a 30,000 square foot indoor building.
We thought you were hinting at that, yeah.
Imagine that?
Yeah, well, let's get the other.
Huh, Jack? Huh?
Yeah.
Get the kids out of the school system, you know, less wear and tear on the gymnasiums, or when the school builds a new building, build a complex, a field house, and then it covers all the birds with one stone.
Okay.
You're preaching to the choir, but
Yeah.
you
Figure that one
will
out.
see that
Figure that one.
the town and the school think they're two different.
Yeah, that's been
So
our,
you could have one
Thanks.
massive field house, then. Imagine that?
No, no,
You're
no,
looking
Rick.
at the guy who pushed for those fields
Rick,
at the
Rick,
school.
we could have one.
Yeah, we
Except
could
it's Not
have.
you, it's
Yeah.
we.
We could have.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen, you've seen the warm-ups. Now we get to the big leagues. Joanne, tell us where to look.
We are on page 1, line
In the
15,
beginning.
under the town vehicles.
Okay, and then under the notebook, it's second one in, I think, so.
So, good evening, I'm Sean Murray, Fire Chief, and I brought a reinforcement with me. This is Deputy Chief Ben Selleck. and,
What's your first name?
Ben.
Ben. Thank you, I should
Ben's
know.
the second in command at the fire department, and I truly do believe in, everyone should, know the organization and everything. So, this year, I asked Ben if, he's shown interest in the CIP program, and I asked him this year if he'd like to present to you, and he does, so.
Good. I think that's a good point. I'm gonna preach with it. One of our roles is to teach the town about the depth of organization and the capital needs that result from that. So having people like Ben come before us illustrates
Yeah.
the planning and the staffing that we support, so.
And Ben's, in charge of operations, so he touches all parts, the apparatus and vehicles, buildings, personnel, bigger capital projects, so,
And what does he do in the rest of his time?
yeah,
He goes home,
yeah.
Try to be
He comes to CIP.
Okay, why don't you, Ben, we like to focus on, as you've heard, on the near-year events, and then touch on some of the bigger, further out years,
Sure.
knowing they're
So
they move around.
in preparation, watched the previous meetings for the group. So just a quick review is 2025. I know it's not part of the capital reserve fund, but it's the annual EMS budget and the revolving fund, I should say, is we still have that ambulance that was approved last year, approved a few years ago from the insurance because of the accident. That still has not come in yet. As we've talked about, apparatus manufacturing times have increased significantly, so we're going to be talking a lot about that impact to us tonight. So that ambulance we're looking at, hopefully it'll be this fall.
But
that's coming.
that's funded though, so it's just. a
That's already
delivery
funded,
time.
just keeping you up to date on that. And then also to keep you up to date, as you saw, the town did approve the $350,000, which was an increase from the $250 to make up for the previous year that was voted down. And we are going to be looking, as you saw in the chief's request, we're looking to continue that to keep us on board so that we can stay in a planning mode instead of a response mode for our capital improvement funds. So that brings us up to 2026. All the other.
Let me just stop you.
Go ahead.
And you were talking about, Joanne, it's line 31, it's the capital reserve fund, right, that Ben's referring to, that we carry forward each year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to place everybody in the matrix.
Sure. And our request for replacement of our car 2 last year was denied, so you will see that move from the 2025 matrix to 2026 matrix. So in 2026, we have 3 items that we're requesting to replace, which is a fire engine, a command car, and a boat.
Where's the boat? Oh, there it is, okay.
Yeah.
20,000.
Yeah,
And
20,000.
the boat comes in under our annual fire budget. It's part of the plan, but not part of the CRF.
Mhm, okay.
In our entire apparatus and vehicle matrix, does everyone, did we include a copy of the apparatus matrix for this document right here?
Seen it in prior years, do we have one, Joanne?
Check here.
I'm not, I don't think we have it. We have, we got it last year, but I don't see it here this year.
We are gonna experience some very dynamic, not changes, but because of this delay in fire apparatus and building and everything, it's sort of like a continual evaluation of where we are. For example, we can order a fire truck today and expect that it's gonna be about 2.5 years before it's delivered. And the same with an ambulance. So we're sort of keeping a close eye on that so that the funding that we have in that capital reserve fund, we can begin to build the funding for it. You know, the tower trucks of 2010, by the time it goes for replacement in 2030, it's probably gonna be about $2.2 million. They've gone up, you know, significantly, so.
So when you have the tanker on line 19, is that for ordering this year but delivery in 2 years, or is it in the pipeline, or what?
So the tanker we have replacing in 2032. Is that what we have?
You have one in 2026, you have a tanker number 1.
2026 is a fire engine.
Okay, it's,
Engine.
oh,
Engine.
okay, I'm sorry. It's just-
So what we've changed in our numbering system is our fire engines now are numbered according to the stations that they're at.
But
Okay,
it says
And
tanker
then
number
engine,
1.
so then when a new engine comes in, it bumps one of the engines to the reserve engine. The reserve engine is always gonna be engine 3, so that's always gonna be our oldest engine,
okay,
if that makes sense.
yeah,
So our last engine that came in as engine 2, and then the engine that was frontline at station 2 has moved to the reserve piece, which is now called engine 3.
okay.
So, I apologize if it says tanker in front of you, but, engine, it's just a regular fire engine that's getting
Okay.
replaced in 2026.
But when you say replace, given what Sean just said,
Yeah.
is that delivery 2 years later, or is that?
So, the matrix is based off of, a expected life expectancy, as you'll see on that form, of 18 years. That's what we try to shoot for, based on the town's experience in use, maintenance, and replacing of systems and other equipment on it. That's what we shoot for. The matrix still shows that we're replacing them the same year that we order them.
Okay.
So by keeping this matrix as it is, we are delaying all of our purchases by 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Current ambulance expectation is around 2 to 2.5 years. As the chief was talking about, fire engines, if we order an identical engine, we can get it in around 2.5 years. If we order something different, we're looking up to 4 years now. Same thing with the aerial.
So when, Joanne, this is for your math, when we look at budget consequence of this, Ben said, we're treating it as if it's the fiction of order and replace and pay for. But in fact, when does the financial hit occur? Is that
So it
spread
depends
out?
what the town wants to do. There's some different strategies involved and some cost-saving measures that the town has been very active in. And it's kind of a risk-benefit, but you can definitely see some price decreases by doing prepayments or chassis payments. So like an ambulance, obviously, is not put together like an engine. You have a chassis from a Ford, Chevy, Dodge manufacturer, and then they add a box onto it, very similar to if you make a farm truck or something like that, or a Eversource truck or something like that. The fire trucks are really built from the ground up, so it takes a little bit more time with something like that.
So, for our purposes, we're treating this as an expenditure. Joanne, I'm looking for you to, in the year you order it, but in fact, you may spread out.
It could be.
You would pay for it on delivery.
Oh, okay.
It all
But
depends
money
what we
is
do.
appropriated
So
for
that-
the year
Right.
of that particular budget.
Does that become incumbent then, the money? Or-
If they have a
It
contract.
stays in,
Okay.
yeah, if it's voted, it stays in the
Okay.
capital reserve fund
think-
for apparatus.
And the town won't sign the contract unless it's
And
approved.
I think as they beat it up last year in budget committee, if I remember correct, was that some of the, when it was prepaid, right, it was at a considerably less cost than if you added on the payment on delivery.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so that there was a balancing act between those two things.
And it's difficult to accept, I will say, is when we place the order for a vehicle, it's actually not in development for a year or two. That's literally just putting us in line.
Okay.
So, and the chief, I give the chief a lot of props with the Fire Chiefs Association and the politicians at the federal level. They're really going after some of the manufacturers. There are some significant problems in jacking up the prices for this, and we try to stay away from those manufacturers.
Well, it sort of illustrates, so what you're saying is the importance of the matrix, because we know there's gonna be delays, but we don't wanna
Yeah.
fall
right.
off, so as you said, we're reacting, so the.
Right, so it just, one of the things I really want this committee to really understand is that very similar to what the police department does, they see significant losses financially when they keep a cruiser longer than it should. We do the exact same thing. By staying with the matrix as it is and not moving all these apparatus up because of the 4 years, not moving the 2 years up, that means all of our apparatus are gonna be 2 years older than we're starting off with. So if we kick the can down the road, right now by approving this, we already kicked the can down the road in that additional 2 years.
Okay. I think that's an important point.
And just as an extra for our committee, what I handed out is, we track all our apparatus on that spreadsheet that you see. As a matter of fact, we updated the mileage on every piece of equipment today and stuff too, but it's good because it gives you know, a look at where the mileages are you know, as the apparatus gets up there in the years and stuff, but, and it tells you, this is our entire inventory of, vehicles and apparatus that we have.
Okay, for the benefit of the people in the audience on GTV, we've got two items Sean's given us. One is a matrix of, I call it theoretical replacement dates. We know when. And second is a spreadsheet that shows, as Sean described, all of the equipment, use, age, expected life, replacement
Mileage,
age.
hours.
Yeah. And I assume we heard Chief Eric talk about miles versus hours. I assume it's the same, a similar assessment?
So yes and no. So just try to remember that we have command vehicles that are very similar to the police cruisers, but we also have large apparatus. The large apparatus are built, the structure of it is built to handle a little bit more. So the engine that we're looking to replace next year has 94,000 miles on it, but it has nearly 7,600 hours on it, which is significant. And when we talk about that, it's a lot of pump time. And when you start to talk about those systems, instead of small little water pumps, brakes, that type of stuff, we are looking at a pump replacement right now for the tower at $43,000. So when this stuff starts to get older, you start to lose larger components, larger systems, and the expense, especially on aerials, in my previous experience from another department, can get very expensive. 5 years ago, we were paying $20,000 to $30,000 a year to keep an aerial in service.
Brad, you had a question?
Yeah, I understand the mileage, I understand the hours, but what does runs mean?
Runs are the calls that it goes on.
Thank you.
So what you'll see is, and I know we're talking about engine for replacement 2026, but I know the big elephant in the room is 2030 for the aerial replacement because of the cost. So just for that is the runs. What we strategically do is try to get as much life out of that thing as possible. So we try to limit the runs that it goes on.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I think the point here is it's important that people understand, the community understands that when we kicked the can down the road last year, we really kicked it, a big kick, like 5 years down the road.
Right.
And all those costs increased.
Yeah. So the good news is, unfortunately, the previous years, the prices of apparatus, we had a 5-year period that we saw a 28% increase. That's why the chief in previous years has been upping his numbers, and you see a slight increase this year. We're starting to finally see that level off, luckily, because I definitely had heartache over it as a taxpayer myself.
Okay, keep walking us through then.
So any questions on 2026? As you'll see, you have an increase there for the engine replacement. That I can't believe this, I'm saying this, but engines are now over $1 million.
So in 2026, we got the engine replacement, the Tahoe replacement, and the boat. But to me, is that boat a rib or not?
It's not a rib, it's a fully inflatable. So we were looking at going with a rib style, but luckily it depends on how tariffs affect it. We have found a very good alternative, military alternative coming out of Canada that is a much cheaper option for us municipal-wise, very similar to our state bid, is it allows us to, our Tahoes, I believe we're getting about $15,000 less than I could as a private citizen. And one of the boats coming out of Canada is about $9,000 less than if you or I went and got it personally.
Brad, you're speaking in code, what's a rib? That's more
A really
original
inflatable boat.
So,
I'm sorry,
talking about the hull.
I'm military.
I row wooden boats.
So what he's talking about is the hull.
Okay.
The hull is, we prefer for what we do, because we do have, obviously, we have flooding in town. So we prefer a shallower hull, so we would do an aluminum V-hull. If we were to do a rigid hull inflatable, and then the sponsons around it are inflatable, so you can still push up against stuff and still flip it back over, you have to do all that type of stuff.
Okay.
That's not-
Thank you.
Any other questions, 2026? Okay, so 2027, where we have in there for another capital reserve fund deposit of $350,000, which we're really hoping that the town backs again, because we're gonna need that
I'm
money.
gonna ask a question. That, you carried 350,000 each year with
Correct.
no inflation adjustment. Is that,
Well, we've been carrying 250,000, but when it did pass this last year, that small difference really, you know, kind of set us off kilter. So going forward now, we are asking for 350, which would be the correction, you know, for inflation the first time in a number of years.
well, but should,
Yes.
as you project out in future years, should you be adding in an inflation
And
adjustment?
Danielle's helping us out with that.
Okay.
We are watching it very closely, but we also have to figure out what the town is willing to.
Okay, but from a
provide.
planning perspective,
Yes.
if you keep a constant number, you're going backwards with
Right.
inflation, so.
Correct.
Yeah, and I can also get you, we have a projection on where the capital reserve fund is now. It's at about 800,000. And we show what we're gonna need in the coming year, so I'll make sure you get a copy of that, because that tells that story, like you said, what are we gonna need here
Okay.
going forward.
Well, she's better at math than we are.
Oh, yeah, yes.
So to continue on with 2027 is we have replacement of the 2018 ATV that we're estimating at $20,000. We are looking at doing something, we're actually looking at downsizing that unit. So we believe that's gonna be a decent amount. We're also, the trailers is still in good shape. It was spec'd very well, so we believe we will not have to replace the trailer for that. The chief is still working on the HVAC study for this year. In 2027, we have the Mass Road Fire Station facility upgrade. That's to be determined by renovation studies.
What line are we now on? This isn't a vehicle, where are we? Joanne?
I don't have,
Yeah, we're
So
going,
that'd be the Joanna Facilities Fire Station 2 upgrade.
It's on page 3.
We're off
you wanna stick with apparatus?
let's stick with the apparatus
Yeah,
first and then.
sounds good. We'll go through it, apparatus, and then we'll
We're
come
not
back.
smart enough to jump back and forth.
So, that's 2027, we're done for apparatus there. It's just that, CRF and then the ATV replacement. In 2028, another $350,000 deposit for the fund, and replacement of another command vehicle. We have that at $85,000. We'll be continuing to watch that to see what the prices do. As Chief Serino talked about, we don't get the prices for the Tahoes until the fall. We get a different model Tahoe than the police do, just because we need a little bit higher ride height. We did see a pretty significant increase last year. I'm hoping we don't see that this year, but we'll see how it goes.
And they have proven very good for us, and I think
Yeah.
Chief Serino's gonna find, you know, with his too, definitely, you know, in the winter time and, you know, trying to get up the mountain and everything too. So-
Also the amount of equipment, the
Yeah.
space utilization. I don't know how they pack all their gear in those cars. I know trying to pack all of our gear in the Tahoe is even tough. 2028, like I said, is that command vehicle that we'll be watching. Any questions on 28? Okay, 29 is another CRF deposit, and then we're looking at replacement of our forestry. It's a pickup truck with a skid unit, pump water on it and some hose. We just did some work on it this year to improve its efficiency. I'm hoping that we're gonna be able to push that back, but it all depends on the next few years. And then we have we call it a pickup truck. It's another command vehicle, but it's a pickup truck style. Our training captain and our fire prevention captain, risk reduction, utilize pickup trucks instead of Tahoes because of the equipment that they have for their daily jobs. So you'll see that replacement there in 2029.
And I just want to refresh your memory too, if you recall, last year we said when we replace the command vehicle next year, we're keeping the old one, and that's going to become a utility type vehicle for the other fire station, which doesn't have it.
Because just for a few years now, we haven't had a tow vehicle. So we have a boat down there on a trailer and we have nothing to tow with. And also to decrease the mileage and hours on the engines for service calls and that type of stuff, and medical calls, that type of stuff. So 2030, we have another CRF deposit, and that is the Tower 1 replacement. So there's our aerial device.
And if you remember from the past, that was actually acquired back in 2010 with a assistance to firefighters grant for over $1 million. And obviously, if those funds, the assistance to firefighters grants are still out there, but you know how the federal government's going, but a main goal would be try to get another grant to replace this, but you cannot replace that tower until it's over 20 years old. FEMA will not give you a grant unless it's over the 20 years.
And that's something with the grants we're watching very closely, because all those grants come through FEMA funds, and we've heard what's happening with FEMA in the news. Today I just received a grant update that they're already changing how you buy stuff. Everything we buy from those grants now has to be made in the US, which for fire apparatus we're good, because that is the stuff that we order is made in the US already. But there are definitely a lot of changes to that. I believe the city of Manchester received some staffing, and the funds for matching that suddenly changed when they got the grant. So there's a lot of changes going on with those grants. We're trying to keep up with them, but they're very difficult to plan for right now.
I have a question on, I'm looking at line 32, ambulance, and you don't have anything in the next year, well, you should have needed 2,000. One of our goals is, is to the extent possible, even out tax expenditures and tax rate. But it gets a little more complicated. Some things are bonded, some things are CRF, and
Right.
so it's not just a gross number.
And the ambulance
game.
comes out of the EMS CIP revolving budget.
Okay, so
So that won't affect this year.
you understand what I'm talking about. You don't want sudden bulges if you can
Correct, and that,
move things around.
as bad as that ambulance getting in the accident, I believe the chief mentioned to this group last year that it actually helped us out because it helped spread the ambulance,
Yeah.
ambulance out. So now we will be spreading the purchase of an ambulance to about every 6 years now, instead of having two of them 2 years apart. So.
Okay, I think that's all the vehicles, I think, so let's go down, go to the buildings. Joanne, where are we looking?
Okay, you wanna go to the fire
103?
tab,
That's on page 4 of our, 3 of ours, rather.
Three.
It's like line 104, 103.
Which one's that?
Well,
Facility?
yeah, the
Mass
facilities.
Road Fire Station.
So if you recall from last year, I came in and we've been carrying $1.6 million, for a number of years. And, the reality is, understanding the budget and everything, that all we were doing was, holding that in place. So I came in and I suggested to our select board and to the committee that I wanted to do away with that, and I was asking for $120,000 for the Station 2 on Mast Road. So fortunately, what happened is, 100,000 of that was gonna pave around the entire station and fix drainage and everything. But we had some, maybe ARPA funds or whatever left over. So I was able to get 76,000 from the board from them ARPA funds. And we went out to bid, and we're now slated to have that paved. We're just waiting for, the contractor to come in. So during the budget period, we really had some other priorities, which was, some of it was recruitment and retention, so I voluntarily gave up the 100,000, and they allowed me to keep 20,000, and we're gonna do an HVAC study at Station 2, and see what it's gonna cost to modernize the, heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical down there. So I have that money this year. I just haven't gone out to bid yet to have that study done. And then what'll happen is, that's gonna begin to provide a roadmap for us, where each year I'll come in on our facilities and ask for far less amount, but start to renovate, over the years.
Well, given that the police department's looking at a replacement facility, are you in the same game, or are you looking at keeping your current facilities?
No, we've got the renovation that happened in 2018. So now for us, at least in my perspective, we don't have a plan looking for a new building. But we do need to, put some money into renovating them. And we're doing it a little at a time, but, it's, I think it's gonna be the most feasible way, knowing that, the police chief's gonna need a new building down the road.
Yeah, but you're important too, so.
Yeah, right.
Brad, do you have a question?
Yeah, my question, this is for edification of me. Station 1 is Church Street, Station 2 is Mass Road.
Right.
Thank you.
We used to have station 17, 18.
Yeah, that's why I asked. I'm old school, so.
You would think we're in a big city, right? But, and we also had, engine 2, engine 4, engine 6, but, it makes it easier all around.
Okay,
CIP,
I'm good with that. It's just, I'm thinking like you did.
Yeah.
17.
And I still call Mass Road 19 all the time.
They do it.
Yeah.
And Mark would too.
Although
Oh, yeah.
it's quite a ways out, tell us about the breathing apparatus, that's a long way in the distance. Is that a replacement, or is that a,
Yes.
so
So
that's
it's
just,
a 20, I believe, we have it earmarked for 2030, I
Yeah.
believe,
Yes.
if my memory corrects. So yes, so that would be the maximum lifetime for our current SCBA's. It will absolutely need to be replaced by then.
should you move it up in the matrix, knowing things take longer to deliver and be?
Those delivery dates have not changed.
Okay.
We can still receive them the same year that we order them.
Okay.
So as long as financially, we don't have to kick it down the road, which would be a significant safety problem.
Well, that's my concern. I mean, again, we're not at the
Yep.
political side of this, but
Right.
you don't want to get to the last possible time and then request an
So we
expropriation.
will, going up to that, we'll be preparing grants. So like the chief talked about, the town did receive the tower on a grant. The main reason for that is because the town did away with 2 aerials and replaced it with 1. That's what gave it the points to get it over the hump there. And the SCBA's were also purchased on a grant last time. So I'm not sure how we're gonna do point-wise on that, but we are going to be attempting to get grants for those coming up to that point.
Well, the
That'll be a-
point already, if our job is to identify capital improvements that we need, and you can't afford to wait beyond the last minute, then you could move it up, and we consider that. I'm not saying I just throw that out as a
I appreciate
concept.
that. Yeah.
I appreciate your conservative.
No, I
Plan.
think, I think it's a good place for that to be, because the self-contained breathing apparatus we have now they're very well maintained, they're in good shape. But I get your point too, and as Ben says, self-contained breathing apparatus is another one of the federal grants that is very well funded. So you got breathing apparatus and then fire apparatus. Those are the 2 main categories, so we're very optimistic we might be able to cover that with a grant.
Are you limited with when to are you limited for the breathing apparatus as far as when you can order it for the grant? Or would you be able to move it up if you guys wanted to? You know what I mean? Like, is there a time frame
It
that
just
you
depends
have
on
to
how
hit?
many points you get for the grant.
Okay.
So the closer away from that end of life expectancy, the
Mhm.
less points you're gonna have.
Okay,
So
that
it
makes
just,
sense.
It's
So
a-
a
it's
year or
part-
two before,
we're
we'll
going to.
start applying for the
You're sort of
grant.
playing chicken with the, yeah, okay.
A year or two before we start applying for that grant, and
Okay.
They take the magic 8 ball and they
Right.
go like this.
Like, not today.
Anything else, I don't see anything else in your schedule, or do you, committee, whatever, committee, I guess, do we have any questions for either Sean or Ben? This is a very good presentation, you prepared well, thank you, we appreciate that. Okay, get to the same question we asked Eric, what's your offer this year? We didn't take you up on the ladder, how much you get now?
that, you know though, that tower, we can put it right on the ground and get you in, so you don't even have to climb on the truck.
Well, maybe that would, I used to climb trees when I was a summer
No, but
college student.
seriously, I would invite this committee, come on over to the fire station. I'd like to show you, you know, the ambulances, the differences between the engine and the tanker, and
That
you
would
can
be-
ride on whatever you want.
Okay, that would be helpful for, I think, just the
It really
visual.
would.
And Chief brings up a great point, is if you want to see what an apparatus looks like that is past as expected, come look at ambulance 3 right now.
Okay. Hopefully,
It
hopefully,
is literally held together with duct tape.
hopefully, look at it, not riding it, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And that,
We've
the
been up and
replacement
around.
for that is due in September, but we were told last year it was due in January of this year, so.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Thank you, gentlemen.
What's
Thank
the
you very much.
holdup?
What's that?
What's the holdup
Built up.
with
Build time.
build time?
And just like a fire engine too, so, if you order an ambulance today, okay, you get a placeholder, but you don't even get on the manufacturing line until the chassis comes in. When the chassis comes in, then you get on the manufacturing line, which could be another year and a half, it's crazy.
So when my clients call and complain I'm not getting them the stuff on time, I'm gonna have them call you and say,
Yeah.
you're used to the idea.
Me too.
Right, right.
I got the number. I got the number for you to call.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Joanne, why don't you tell us what we have in front of us and what we have to do for next meeting to get
Okay.
ready?
So you have the minutes that you already approved.
Yeah,
You have the library request
okay.
for the parking lot. They made a
That's
change to that.
this thing.
And then you have the school information that, I don't know if you were here, Jim, but
Yeah, I was here.
when they requested,
Bye, Sean, thank you.
Thank you.
when they,
Bye, Ben, thank you.
the committee requested this information,
Mm-hmm.
and Scott Gross provided it.
Is the school, is anybody from the school committee coming back before us to talk about it, or
Well,
what?
so you have 2 more meetings.
Yeah.
You have DPW by
Right.
themselves, the
Yeah.
next meeting. And then you have library and sewer.
Yeah,
And I can
Then it
check
would
the
be called
schedule,
back
but
the next
I don't
meeting.
remember.
Callback is the next.
Is library and
Callback
sewer?
and approving the proposal.
yeah, library and sewer are usually not long,
short.
so,
You could do a callback that night. too.
well, yeah, I just wondered, does the school want to make a further presentation, do you know? or-
I think the school is good either way. I think they will or they won't.
Well, what does,
Their feeling was last year when they went that there was some thought that the replacement schedule stuff didn't need to be on the matrix because it was a recurring $50,000, whatever it was. And so that's why they left it off.
Okay.
They will have the IT, Steve, come back and talk. It's the same story that you heard from the chief, is that all these places are getting tested for cyber security by national organizations, and they're getting put pressure on. And we all have first, technology increases so fast and comes at you so hard, we were never up to speed at it, and we've been behind. And
Joanne-
so that's where that.
Joanne,
all
what do
comes
you
from.
recommend based on your years of doing this? Should we have somebody come in like Scott or?
I think so you have a better understanding of it, like maybe Scott could come in.
Yeah, I
since-
hate to use up too much of their time, but we're not very good at just looking at a spreadsheet. What do you think?
It'll be Steve Bourget who
Okay.
will come in,
Okay.
the IT. He's the head IT, came in with Randy last year,
Yeah,
and he just didn't come in with Randy this
But do
year.
you also want to go over the
If you
bond
wanna go over
numbers
the
for the
bond
new
numbers, then that would
school?
be, it will actually be Doug Taunton will come in now. Scott is, no longer the business administrator
they've
as of
switched over.
June 31st.
transition.
So he transitioned, so now it's Doug Taunton is our new business administrator, and, Scott is still with the SAU, but he has a different title that's escaping me right now, cause I can know.
Why don't you don't you invite him? I'm not sure we need to,
Doug, invite Doug.
it's not a command, but I think it would be useful to
Now,
have.
this would be after library.
Library and sewer, 'cause
presented.
Sewer is paid by user
I
fees,
I
so, yeah,
understand.
so that's
Sewer is-
easy.
Is really easy,
Yeah,
because
and library's
it's no
usually
tax
not
impact.
much, so let's think about, we can, you know.
Library, I think, has 3 things.
Okay.
Yeah, and if he came in and talked about the bond stuff.
That would be educational for us, I think it would be good if they can.
Now, do you want anyone else to come back besides the school?
I don't think so. You know, groupthink. I think the presentations have been good, and there's been no hanging items other than the school stuff that I can, Mark, your memory's better
Nope,
than mine.
we're right on track.
And then we would, after we heard from the school again, on whatever the date is, that
We can make our,
we would make our decision on what we're gonna do as far as presenting to the planning board.
Well, that's right, because we have the
Yeah.
callbacks and deliberative, we hope that we don't need callbacks on August 21, and so that we can deliberate, so that we can get on with it. So, if I give you homework, you won't do it, it's like my kids when I was a teacher, but, skim through your notes and just see if there's any big questions that you'd want to answer in anything, so that we can,
So we can actually bring it up after DPW presents.
Yeah, let's do a kind of quick review, so we're ready to do, when we get to the deliberative workshop, we can just do it, not have to flounder about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, you
Okay,
know.
anything else, Joanne?
No, I think that's it.
Mark, you want to make a motion to adjourn?
sure, motion to
Brad,
adjourn.
second? All those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Mark and Hess are no votes. Okay, we're adjourned, thank you.
Joanne, did you